and a big hello to all the students, all the second PUC students of Oxford College. And this is Chandana here, continuing with the online classes for the subject of English. Today we are going to deal with this, the second chapter, which is called II, written by Leo Tolstoy. So about the author, Leo Tolstoy is one of the very great novelists of all times. It is believed, and he is a Russian author who has written many novels and plays and short stories, which have made him very famous of all times. And he was one of the very few authors who got nominated for Nobel Peace Prize many a times. He got nominated for Nobel Prize in Literature around 5 times, and around 3 times he got nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. So totally 5 plus 3, around 8 times he got nominated for Nobel Prize. Some for peace and the rest for literature. But the fact that he did not win any of the Nobel Prizes is in itself a controversy that's registered under Nobel Peace Prizes controversy. But having said that, 2 novels that are universally acclaimed, that are written by him. One is called War and Peace, and the other one is called Anna Karenina. If you do find time and if you have a flair to reading, please do read these novels. It's considered realistic novels of all times. So coming to the author section in your textbook, textbook. Please open the textbooks and look into the textbooks while we go through the lesson. Hoping you're doing it. I'm continuing here. Count Leo Tolstoy is a Russian writer who primarily wrote novels and short stories. Tolstoy is a master of realistic fiction and is widely considered as one of the world's greatest novelists. He is best known for 2 long novels, that is War and Peace and Anna Karenina, as I told you before. Now further, Tolstoy first achieved literary acclaim in his 20s. So when he was in his 20s itself, he was literally acclaimed. And that is for his Sevastopol sketches, based on his experience in the Crimean War, and followed by the publication of a semi-autobiographical trilogy of novels. So he published a semi-autobiographical trilogy. Trilogy meaning a series of 3 books which are semi-autobiographical in nature, meaning it is a combination of his own experiences and fiction together. So these works are called Childhood, Boyhood and Youth. His works also include 2 additional novels, dozens of short stories, and several famous novellas, including The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Family Happiness, and Haji Murad. Later in life, he wrote plays and essays. Tolstoy is equally known for his complicated and paradoxical persona, and for his extreme moralistic and aesthetic views, which he adopted after a moral crisis and spiritual awakening in the 1870s, after which he became noted as a moral thinker and social reformer as well. So it is after this, I think it was in 1901, when he got nominated for his first Nobel Peace Prize, after he became a social reformer and a great moral thinker. So much about the author. Let us go straight into the lesson. So this is a very, it's a short story. It's a very interesting story though. It's a very easy one, but a very interesting one, I must say. So let's, without losing any time, let's go into the lesson. So it says, near the borders of France and Italy. So this place where the story is happening is close to France and Italy. Near the borders of France and Italy, on the shore of the Mediterranean Sea. So on the shore of the Mediterranean Sea, near France and Italy. What was the name of this place? A place called Monaco. A little, lies a tiny little kingdom called Monaco. The name of the place, name of the kingdom is Monaco, which is a neighboring kingdom for France and Italy. Many a small country town can boast more inhabitants than this kingdom. So how was this kingdom? This kingdom was so small that many towns in some countries boast of having bigger population and bigger area than this kingdom itself. So this whole kingdom was a very small kingdom. So it was called actually a toy kingdom. So there are only about 7,000 of them all told. 7,000, there are totally only around 7,000 people who are the citizens of this kingdom, which is called Monaco. So, and all the land in kingdom were divided. There would not be an acre for each inhabitant. So there were 7,000 people, and if you divide the land area of this country for the 7,000 citizens, each one would get an acre, just an acre. So around 7,000 square acres, and 7,000 acres this would be. So, but in this toy kingdom, see, that's why it's called a toy kingdom. It's a very small kingdom. But in this so-called small toy kingdom, there is a real king, and he has a palace too. There is a real king, and he has a full-fledged palace which runs and which comprises of all the necessary things which any other kingdom or any other palace would consist. So, and he has a palace. The courtiers. Who are the courtiers? The courtiers are, at the court of a king, royal king, there'll be advisors. These are called the courtiers. So he has a palace, he has courtiers, he has ministers, and he has a bishop, and he has generals. And don't forget to remember that he has an army too. He has a full-fledged country which is operational, and this country of 7,000 people has an army of its own too. It's not a large army. So this is something understandable, right? If the people themselves are only 7,000 in number, how big must the army be? Only 60 men in all. So there are only 60 men who are made up of the army of this kingdom. But still, it is an army. There are also taxes in this kingdom as elsewhere. Like how anywhere else you would find taxes levied by the king or the government, here also there are taxes in this kingdom. So which are the taxes? A tax on tobacco, and on wine and spirits, and poll tax. So these are the three kinds of taxes that are levied on the citizens of this kingdom. What are they? They are this tax on tobacco, tax on wine and spirits, and poll tax. So very pretty much similar to modern day what we have even now. You saw why in this lockdown period also they allowed liquor to be sold. It is simply because it gets a lot of revenue to the government to use for its functioning. So similarly, tobacco and liquor was what was taxed even in this kingdom of Monaco. And in addition, there was something called as a poll tax, which was levied on individuals. But though the people there drink and smoke as people do in other countries, there are so few of them that the prince would have been hard put to it to feed his courtiers and officials and to keep himself if he had not found a new and special source of revenue. Now, what are the sources of revenue for this kingdom? We said about the three sources of revenue for this. Apart from that, there was another source of revenue also for this kingdom. The reason why this king found another source of revenue was the people here did drink and smoke like anybody else in any other country, and there was revenue coming from those sources. But it was so less, the revenue that came from these heads were so less that it was not enough for the king to maintain his palace, to feed his courtiers and his ministers, and to function his government as well. So he had a new thing. I mean, he had a different thing, which collected another kind of taxes. What is it? Let's see here. This special revenue comes from a gaming house. So they're saying there's some game that they play which collects taxes, where people play roulette. Roulette is a gambling game. You must have seen, there is a circular table where, there are some balls which are thrown and it's all numbered. They are all compartmentalized and there are numbers written on them. And the ball goes and falls on these numbers, and people bet and see who the winner is. This is called a roulette game. So this was the game that was played in this kingdom called the Monaco. People play, and whether they win or lose, the keeper always gets a percentage on the turnover. So whether somebody lost the game or won the game, he always had to pay a certain percentage to the keeper. Keeper meaning one who runs this gaming place. So he needs to be paid. And out of his profits, the person who runs this game house, out of his profits, he pays a large sum to the prince as tax. So this person had to pay to the prince, that is to the government, the tax that was laid on his gambling game. The reason he pays so much is that it's the only such gambling establishment left in Europe. So here in Europe, there was no gambling establishment whatsoever at all. All the gambling establishments were withdrawn, were abolished in Europe, and this was the only place where this game was allowed to be played. Some of the little German sovereigns used to keep gaming houses of the same kind, but some years ago, they were forbidden to do so. Earlier, there were gaming houses like this in other parts of Europe, but they were all removed at one point in time because they thought that these games they harmed the people more than the tax that came from them. So what happened? Why did they remove all these gaming houses? Is the reason they were stopped was because these gaming houses did so much harm. They did more harm than they did any benefit. A man would come and try his luck. So what people did is they would come there and try to play. And then he would risk all he had and lose it. This is the case with gambling anywhere in the world. So a person would come and they would bet whatever he had and he would lose all that he had. And then what would he do? Then he would even risk money that did not belong to him. Remember the Mahabharata story? It's not for joke. It happens to this day. So the person who came there after losing whatever he had, he would bet the things that he did not have also and lose that too. He would lose even that. And then in despair, in that sorrow, in that confusion, what to do, he has lost everything. He would drown or shoot himself. He would go and commit suicide because he has lost everything. So this is the harm that these gaming houses did. And so the Germans forbade, look at that word, not a very common word. Forbade. Learn the correct past tenses for the respective present tenses. Forbid is the present tense form, forbade is the past tense form. So the Germans forbade their rulers to make money in this way. So that's why it was forbidden. See, it is the past participle form, forbidden, to play these games in other parts of Europe. But there was no one to stop the Prince of Monaco, and he remained with the monopoly of the business. So no one was there to stop this gaming in the kingdom of Monaco, and he was the only one. That's what is called monopoly, right? If you're all commerce students, of course there are science students also. You know what's a monopoly? Monopoly is in the market, having a market, having a single player. There is no other competition over there. Is called a monopoly. So now everyone who wants a gamble goes to Monaco. So whoever wanted to gamble went to Monaco. Whether they win or lose, the prince gains by it. Taxes come for the prince. You can't earn stone palaces by honest labor, as the proverb says, and the kinglet of Monaco knows it is a dirty business. But what is he to do? So there is a saying. What does the saying say? You can't earn stone palaces by honest labor. You can't build stone palaces, meaning big palaces which are expensive. You can't build them by honest labor. There comes some element of dishonesty, cheating when it comes to making a lot of money, which is true again even to this day. So this prince, what to do? He wanted money to run the establishment, to run his kingdom, and so he continued this gaming business and continued to collect taxes. He has to live. Who is this? The prince, the king. And to draw a revenue from drink and from tobacco is also not a nice thing. So he's saying it's not a nice thing to earn the taxes from tobacco and liquor. Even these two are equally harmful. So he lives and reigns and rakes in the money. He lives and reigns. Reigns meaning he reigns as the king, Rajabhara Martan, and rakes in the money. Rakes in as in grabbing, taking away all the money that he gets in the form of taxes in these gaming houses, and holds his court with all the ceremony of a real king. So this is how he gets to be a real king in a small kingdom, in a small toy kingdom like Monaco. Next paragraph. He has his coronation. Coronation, the making of the king. So coronation is there. His levees, that is, officially the way the kings are received when the kings enter with all the band and band baja and all that. The king is received with everybody, the courtiers and everybody. That's called the levee. So he's received with all these levees, and he rewards and sentences and pardons. So he does all this. He gives sentences, he gives pardons, and he also has his reviews, councils, laws, and courts of justice. So he also has this courts of justice, which look for the disagreements, the quarrels among the citizens. So this is how this country was, and this is how it ran. Just like other kings, only all on a smaller scale. So everything happened the same way, just like in any other kingdom. But only thing is, everything happened in a very small scale in this kingdom because it was very small, and the number of people who lived, the citizens of this kingdom, were very few too. So now what happened in this kingdom? Let us see how the story proceeds. Now, it happened a few years ago that a murder was committed in this toy prince's domains. Princess domain, princess kingdom. So what happened is, one day somebody committed a murder in this kingdom. The people of that kingdom are peaceable, and such a thing had not happened before. So such a thing, meaning a murder, such a thing as a murder was never committed by anybody in this kingdom, and it was the first time this happened. The judges assembled with much ceremony and tried the case in the most judicial manner. There were judges and prosecutors and jurymen and barristers. So there was a big ceremony, there was a big, judicial process that started the minute this murder took place. Now, Let's familiarize ourselves with all the terms used here. The judges assembled with much ceremony, all that you know, and tried the case. Trying the case, arguing the case, the trial of the case in the most judicial manner, in a very judicial, honest and